The Americas, A Continent's Journey Through Time by Dr. Elena Marquez, prepared by Hamad Al-Kayai. Introduction, A Tapestry of Civilizations. Dr. Elena Marquez presents the Americas as a dynamic, interconnected continent shaped by millennia of innovation, conflict, and cultural exchange. Rejecting simplistic narratives of discovery, she emphasizes indigenous agency, the devastating impacts of colonialism, and the ongoing struggle for identity and justice. Chapter 1, Ancient Foundations, 15,000 BCE 1500 CE, First Peoples, Migration across Beringia, circa 15,000 BCE, and the Clovis culture's spread. Diverse adaptations, from the Inuit in the Arctic to the Terra Preta farmers of the Amazon. Mesoamerican civilizations, Olmec, 1500–400 BCE, mother culture of Mesoamerica, known for colossal heads and early writing. Maya, 2000 BCE 1500 CE, city-states like Tikal and Palenque, advanced astronomy, mathematics, and hieroglyphic writing. Aztec, 1345–1521 CE, Tenochtitlan, a metropolis of 200,000, built on lake islands with causeways and aqueducts. Andean empires, Norte Chico, 3000–1800 BCE, early urban centers in Peru. Inca, 1438–1533 CE, vast empire connected by the Carpac-Nan road system, with Machu Picchu as a pinnacle of engineering. North American societies, Cahokia, Mississippian culture, 1050–1350 CE, with its 100-foot Monk's Mound, the ancestral Pueblones' cliff dwellings. Chapter 2, Collision and Conquest, 1492–1700 CE, Columbian Exchange, crops, maize, potatoes, revolutionized global diets, while Old World diseases decimated 90% of indigenous populations. Spanish conquest, Hernan Cortez's alliance with Tlaxcalans to topple the Aztecs, 1519–1521, Francisco Pizarro's capture of Inca Emperor Atahualpa, 1532. Resistance and survival, Mapuche, Chile repelled Spanish forces for centuries. Pueblo Revolt, 1680, Pope led a successful uprising in present-day New Mexico. African enslavement, plantation economies in the Caribbean and Brazil relied on enslaved labor. Maroon communities like Palenques, Colombia, and Quilombo dos Palmares, Brazil, resisted. Chapter 3, Colonial Societies and Hybrid Cultures, 1700–1800 CE, Viceroyalties, Spanish administrative divisions, New Spain, Peru, extracted silver and gold, fueling European wealth. Mestizage, racial mixing created new social hierarchies, exemplified by figures like Sor Juana Inés de la Cruz, Mexican nun and scholar. North American colonies, contrast between Puritan New England, plantation-based Chesapeake, and French fur trade networks in Quebec. Indigenous resilience, the Comanche Empire dominated the Great Plains, while the Guarani missions in Paraguay blended Jesuit and indigenous traditions. Chapter 4, Revolutions and Nation Building, 1776–1900 CE, Independence movements, United States, 1776, Enlightenment ideals juxtaposed with slavery and indigenous displacement. Haiti, 1791, 1804 to Saint Louverture's Revolution created the first Black Republic. Simon Bolivar, 1783–1830 liberated Venezuela, Colombia, and Bolivia, grappled with post-colonial fragmentation. Manifest Destiny, U.S. expansionism annexed Mexican territories, 1848, displacing native nations like the Cherokee via the Trail of Tears, 1830s. Brazilian Empire, 1822–1889 maintained slavery until 1888, the last in the Americas. Chapter 5, Modernization and Imperialism, 1900–1950 CE, U.S. hegemony, the Monroe Doctrine, 1823, justified interventions, for example, Panama Canal, 1904–1914, banana republics in Central America. Mexican Revolution, 1910–1920 Emiliano Zapata and Pancho Villa fought for land reform, cultural renaissance via muralists like Diego Rivera. Indigenous erasure, residential schools in Canada and the US aimed to assimilate native children, sterilization campaigns in Peru. World Wars, Latin America supplied resources, for example, Brazilian rubber, Chilean copper, while black soldiers faced segregation in U.S. forces. Chapter 6, Cold War and Liberation Struggles, 1950–2000 CE, Coup culture, CIA-backed overthrows in Guatemala, 1954, Chile, 1973, and Argentina's Dirty War, 1976–1983, targeted leftist movements. Cuban Revolution, 1953–1959 Fidel Castro and Che Guevara's socialist experiment, U.S. embargo and Bay of Pigs, 1961, Civil rights movements, U.S., Martin Luther King Jr. and the 1965 Voting Rights Act, Ames occupation of Wounded Knee, 1973, Latin America, liberation theology and indigenous uprisings, for example, Ecuador's CONAI, 1986, neoliberalism, IMF austerity policies in the 1980s-90s exacerbated poverty, Zapatista uprising, 1994, in Mexico countered NAFTA. Chapter 7, Contemporary Challenges and Hopes, 21st Century, Migration Crises, Central American caravans fleeing violence, Venezuela's refugee exodus. Environmental threats, Amazon deforestation, Arctic melting, and Standing Rock protests against the Dakota Access Pipeline, 2016. Social movements, Black Lives Matter, addressing systemic racism in the US and beyond. Feminist waves, Argentina's Ni Una Menos and Mexico's Green Scarf protests for abortion rights. Indigenous resurgence, Bolivia's first indigenous president, Evo Morales, 2006–2019, Canadian Truth and Reconciliation Commission, 2008–2015. Key themes 1. Cultural syncretism, blending of indigenous, African, and European traditions in food, for example, tamales, gumbo, religion, voda, santeria, and art. 2. Exploitation versus resistance, from enslaved rebellions to modern land defenders. 3. Reimagining identity, the tension between mestizo nationalism and indigenous sovereignty. Conclusion. The unfinished continent. Marquez argues the Americas' history is a continuous negotiation between unity and fragmentation, progress and regression. While colonialism's scars persist, systemic racism, environmental degradation, she highlights grassroots movements reviving ancestral knowledge and demanding equity. The continent's future, she asserts, hinges on confronting its past and embracing its multicultural roots. Notable figures, Malintzin, La Malinchna, interpreter and controversial symbol of betrayal / cultural bridge. José Martí, 1853–1895, Cuban poet and independence hero. Rigoberta Menchú, KH activist and Nobel laureate documenting Guatemalan genocide. Legacy: the Americas transformed global diets, economies, and cultures, yet remain a contested space of memory and possibility. From the Harlem Renaissance to reggaeton, the continent's creativity defies oppression. Author's perspective: Marquez blends academic rigor with advocacy, centering marginalized voices, indigenous, Afro-descendant, and women, to challenge colonial myths. The book is a call to reimagine the Americas not as a new world but as an ancient, evolving tapestry of human resilience.